If you enjoy the look of stitching on paper crafts, this project is perfect for you. Hello everyone, Miss Carrie here. I am so excited to introduce you to a simple way that you can create faux stitching on your projects, and I'm going to show you how easily you can add that texture to your cards. If you have viewed any of my projects in the Scrapbook.com gallery, you know that I love to add stitching to my projects. The look of stitching doesn't always have to be done with a needle and thread. In fact, there are some great stamps and dies out there that will create the illusion of stitching on your projects. One of my favorites are the stitching pattern dies. There are 6 different patterns in this collection that can be used to add debossed stitch designs to your project. Each die is an 8.5 inch continuous pattern that can be repeated along a page border or to create textured elements on your projects. With these dies, we're going to create multiple card layers for some fall birthday cards. Birthday cards are always something I never have enough of, and the Cozy Pattern Paper Collection and Harvest cardstock colors are perfect for warm celebratory designs. Those of you who follow me online also know that I'm an avid coffee drinker, so of course I had to use the Fall Treats collection. For the sentiments, I'll be using the new Let's Celebrate collection. Alright, let's get started with the project. Before we create the cards, I want to share some simple ways that you can use these stitching pattern dies on your projects. I'm going to start with a simple repetitive background using this straight stitch and random X pattern. My Spellbinders machine has the standard thin die sandwich, and I'm using a magic mat in place of the base plate. This mat is going to come in handy when we line up and space the stitching dies. I'm using the grid as my guide, then securing the dies with mint tape so that they stay aligned as I run them through the machine. When the dies are removed, you'll be able to see how amazing that texture is. Doesn't it look like we took time to stitch these? I'm going to repeat this pattern all the way across. To help me space them correctly, I'm going to use the grid on the magic mat. Here's what the completed pattern looks like. Don't you just love the way this looks? You can leave this as is or create more texture by adding some additional stitching lines. I'm going to place this straight stitch next to the previous one and create another repetitive pattern. Take a look at that! This die collection is so versatile. Feel free to add some more if you like. I'm going to leave it as is and show you another way to use the dies. For this background, I'm going to use the simple dot pattern at a diagonal. Now, this one is a little tricky to line up because you need to keep both the cardstock and the die on that base plate or magic mat. I'm going to rotate the cardstock and die slightly, then secure the die in place with mint tape. I'm going to place the dot lines 3/4 of an inch apart. I am eyeballing the measurement, but feel free to bring in a ruler and add some tick marks with a pencil if you like. Here is what the repetitive diagonal pattern looks like with that dot stitching die. It is a little difficult to see on camera, but once I place it on a white card base, it's going to show up more. If you like this pattern, you can stop here, but I want to create a diamond pattern, so I'm going to lay this die in the opposite direction on my cardstock. Here is the completed plaid or diamond pattern. It is very simple and subtle, but it's perfect for just about any occasion. Let's make one more stitched layer. This one is going to be a border for one of the cards. I'm going to start with the zigzag stitch pattern and place it about an inch from the top of the cardstock. I think this is one of my favorite patterns. I use zigzag stitching on many of my scrapbook pages. The line of dot stitches is going to sit above and below the zigzag. The border is going to be cut at 3/4 of an inch, and the dots will run right along the edges of the paper strip. Isn't this such a fun little pattern? You could use this as a repetitive design too. All right, I'm going to gather all the supplies needed for the cards and show you how we're going to use these stitched elements. I've already cut out all the pieces for the first card. The stitched background design was trimmed down to 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. I'm layering over a piece of white cardstock that's slightly larger. Both of these are going to sit in the center of this plaid pattern from the Cozy collection. This is cut to fit an A2 card base. Near the base of the card, I'm going to adhere the stitched border. This was cut at 3/4 of an inch wide. Now I'm going to bring in all those awesome little fall tree pieces that I cut from pattern paper and cardstock. On the left side, I'm going to sit this floral mug. Isn't that too cute? From white cardstock, I cut out both of the foam pieces. I'm going to layer them over the top of each other like this, so I need to trim the peak off the larger layer. To give them a little dimension, I'm going to add some 1mm adhesive between the layers, and then I'll set the coffee foam at the top of my cup. Or maybe for some of you it's whipped cream. I know many of you enjoy lots of whipped cream on your warm fall drinks. From white cardstock and pattern paper, I cut out the happy birthday sentiment. This is going to sit right here at the top of the card. I love having all of my little die cut pieces sitting in this tray, and the grip mat underneath keeps everything from sliding. Little pieces, small images, and the dots to letters can easily get lost when I'm in a creative die cutting frenzy. I've started placing 2 trays near my die cutting machine. I shared a video on my channel with a few more ways that I use these trays. They're a must-have in my craft space. I'm going to quickly layer the leaves, acorn, and pumpkin here on the left. You can also add a straw, create some cinnamon sticks, or add a little shimmer to your pieces with a glitter brush. For those who enjoy adding stamped sentiments, the border below the mug is a perfect spot for one. Let's quickly assemble the second one. Once again, I cut everything ahead of time. I have the diamond stitch background and white cardstock, and I have a piece of green pattern paper cut slightly larger. I cut this at 3 inches by 4 inches. I used the straight stitch to create a border around this piece. I'm going to start with the background for the Let's Celebrate sentiment. This was cut from the yellow plaid pattern I used on the background of the first card. I have cut out all the pieces for the coffee cup. There are 2 parts to the lid that will sit at the top and some pieces for the coffee sleeve. I cut these from a mix of cozy pattern papers and cardstock in the Harvest pack. To create dimension, I'm adding some thin 1mm foam tape between a few of the layers. For the cupcake, I have cut out the paper cup and 2 of the little foam layers, one from pattern paper and one from white cardstock. Feel free to use any of those layering pieces that work for your card design. One of the best parts about the Scrapbook.com dies are the inspiration photos on the back. Sometimes I have absolutely no idea how I'm going to add these items to my project, and the photos are always a great help. I've placed some leaves and a pumpkin at the top of the cup, and I'm adding an acorn and a pumpkin to the cupcake. Alright, the last step is the sentiment. Often I want to add dimension to the sentiments, but die cuts like these can be difficult to add foam tape to. By layering multiple die cuts on top of each other, you can create dimension without using foam tape. How cute are these 2 Fall Treats birthday cards? Not only did you learn how to create these simple designs, you also learned some new ways to use these stitching pattern dies on your card layers. I hope you enjoyed learning how to create these 2 Fall Treats birthday cards and try some of the techniques I shared. Stitching elements can elevate a card design, and now you know some simple ways to add them. I want to thank you for joining me today. For detailed card instructions and photos of these projects, make sure to head on over to my website or my Scrapbook.com gallery. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to see what you create.